All right, welcome to Buddy Book Club. I'm Dylan here with the co-founder of our company, Keith. What's up, buddy?
Co-founder of our company. Oh, I'm Julie.
Yeah, well, you could be Cass.
I'm Victoria if you're Julie. You know that. I mean, what?
Are you kidding me? Actually, no, I'm actually more like Victoria. I'm making a nice supper for everybody and telling people to chill out. Yeah. Well, here at the Buddy Book Club, we're breaking down some bestsellers, and this week we'll be discussing Maurice Still's debut novel, We're All Lying. If you'd like to recommend a book for us to read or reach out to us about any past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, or sign into our DMs on Twitter or Instagram, Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, so please download and subscribe. Keith, we had a pretty nice situation with this one where we were able to actually sit down and talk to the author about the book. Not just two idiots here blabbing about stuff we don't know about. We had someone come on that actually knew what they were talking about.
The two idiots were still there, but yeah, but it was nice to talk to a real author that could write and know what they're saying.
Yeah, exactly, and get some insight into the characters. So we're going to start off with that interview. Here's Maurice Still. So I'd like to welcome our very special guest, Maurice Still. Her debut novel, We're All Lying, is coming out on March 14th. It's on BuzzFeed's most anticipated thrillers of 2023 list, and after receiving an advance copy, I can say it should be number one on that list. Marie, welcome to the Buddy Book Club.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
It must have been pretty exciting when you found out that your debut novel made that list.
That was definitely like a bucket list item, and to get it with my debut, my soul left my body.
Was it something that you just found out when you were scrolling online, or did someone send this to you like, holy smokes, did you know?
So the writer reached out to me on Instagram and sent me the link and was like, hey, it's up now.
Awesome.
I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to play it cool, but very uncool inside right now.
So we're not super familiar with how the whole publishing process works, but how did they even know, like, how was it on their radar?
So I think she was just an ARC reader before books go out. There's ARCs on NetGalley, and they go out to influencers, and I have a publicist. So I think she got it on NetGalley, actually.
That's amazing. So people just scroll through that, read a bunch of books, and list their top 20 or so. Good for them. They got that time to read that much.
Yeah, the Bookstagram and Book Talk community has been really welcoming and a lot of fun to interact with. So to see their posts and hear their reviews before the book launches, it's been a cool ramp up to Tuesday's launch.
Yeah, it's crazy, right around the corner. And it must be amazing to you from spending so much time writing this novel and more to then put it out into the world, and all of a sudden you're just getting tons of feedback from people probably across the world.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's weird, but awesome, but very different.
Yeah. So I hear that your mom let you read a lot of Stephen King at a young age. Much respect to her.
She did, yeah.
What was your favorite book as a kid? Maybe not a Stephen King book, like a kid's book, but I do want to know the Stephen King one. So that's kind of a two-parter.
Oh, as a kid? So for some reason, I really remember reading The Black Pearl. I don't know why that book sticks out so much. Maybe it was like one of the first longer books I read. And then, of course, I grew up in the V.C. Andrews era. So I think that's why we're all a little off at this age. And then like Carrie was definitely, I think, my favorite Stephen King book. Still one of my favorites.
Keith, I think we have to add that to the list. Neither of us have read Carrie.
Really?
Carrie, maybe because I saw the movie at such a young... My mom was the same way, except with movies. So I was like, yeah, sure, you can rent whatever you want.
That was a highly disappointing fun fact that I just learned about you.
So the book itself, obviously, is surrounding a lot with marketing and the marketing agency. I wanted to see what your background in marketing was specifically, just because when I was reading it and some of the way you described smoking cigarettes or maybe having a nice vodka drink, I kind of want to go pick up a pack of cigarettes. I don't smoke, but I was ready to. You must have a marketing background. Is that correct?
I do, yes. So I started in online advertising at AOL, and I'm going to age myself. AOL used to be like the really cool way to get on the internet.
Oh, yeah. We were there.
we were there. We're aware.
And then, I've been in marketing, PR, advertising ever since.
Well, both Keith and I, we actually met, we're on opposite coasts now, but we met both working at a digital advertising agency. and you definitely captured the vibe. I was like, oh, this is exactly what it is like working at an agency. So
yes, I've lived it for a while, so you'll see definitely hints of real life in there.
And I will add that Dylan and I both enjoy a coffee vodka on occasion. So a little hat tip in the book to that, which I really appreciated. We actually call it a Kovo, though. So for the next book, if you want to throw that in there, feel free to do that. It's a little marketing, branding there a little bit.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah. I thought Cass would know that.
It rolls off the tongue, Kovo.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny that you mentioned that because one of the editor notes was like, ew, what? I'm like, no, it's fine. You can put vodka in everything.
Don't hate it till you try it.
And even sometimes before we record, Keith will get himself a Kovo.
A nice Kovo. I'm drinking a Kovo right now.
Yeah, there we go.
Love that. There we go.
But I told him, I was like, let me know when you reach page 60. He's like, why? I was like, just let me know. We've talked about it for a long time, but I mean, espresso martinis are now hip. But outside of that, I'm talking just a straight coffee vodka. Never have I seen it in pop culture. So I'm glad that you're
we're making it a thing.
Yeah, holding the banner for that trend.
Other thing I wanted to ask too is when I was reading, I was thinking you obviously have husband, kids, friends, family, parents, everything like that. The relationships in this book aren't really the best and put in the best
Some
light.
Toxicity.
Yeah. Any of your friends or any people that are kind of in your life reading the book, do they take it personally?
So it's funny because Ethan is terrible and my husband is a lovely person, very nice, very amazing. There are, from our tiffs, I stole like word for word some of this book. So as I'm writing, I like read it to him. He's like, oh my gosh. And all of his buddies are like, so this is about you. Like, I swear it's not about him, but I sometimes steal his like not so amazing characteristics, but then I do the same with myself. So it's okay. We're all even.
So did you put yourself into Cass? Is that what you're saying?
Cass is me. Yeah.
Interesting. If I was, one of your husband's friends, I'd be like, hey, buddy, you gotta treat your wife better. Like, this is terrible. Like, where's she coming up with these ideas?
90% of it is no, more than that. Like, we're not doing all these terrible things. It's just like conversations, characteristics, flaws, things like that.
Yeah, of course. The book feels real. And I think because you're doing such a good job of pulling aspects from real life and then obviously creating a novel and story with it, real life tends to be sometimes a book in itself. So if you can just extrapolate on that, you can create something like this, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think, so I really wanted to explore like the what if, because it's so easy on the outside to be like, well, I would never do this and I would never do that. But then you have these emotions and love and jealousy and hatred and they get all mixed up and people do some like crazy things, right? Like,
yeah.
Snapped and people are killing their husbands and their wives and all sorts of stuff. And the neighbors always like, I would never expect it of them.
Yeah, my wife loves the Dateline in 2020 and whatnot. So I've seen all those. Yeah, I'm familiar. This could fit right in there. Be like this and the Murdoch murders would be all she'd be talking about.
Oh, we would get along great. We'd be best friends. I can already tell.
Also, Ethan needs a couple of cell phones. He needs some hidden cell phones. I don't know what he's doing. One cell phone. Come on, man. Figure it out.
Oh my gosh, he's the worst.
So you're aware, we're not going to be releasing anything until after the book's out, and we'll have spoilers-free sections and whatnot, because we don't want to ruin it for any readers out there. So
yeah, it's hard when you're talking about thrillers, because during interviews and all this stuff, I'm like, okay, how do I answer this without giving away something?
Yeah, exactly. Because there's so much in this book in terms of, I feel like so many thrillers, at least the ones that we've read, there's kind of a big payoff at the end or something along those lines, where this has several payoffs throughout that all culminate in a big payoff. So you kind of have to avoid those landmines when you're doing interviews, I'm sure, because there's so many like little ones throughout that you don't want to give away too soon.
And that's what I love as a reader. Like, if I have to wait till the whole end for like the one big twist, I prefer those like little hints, those little twists that are woven within the entire story. Where like, ooh, okay, that was different.
Yeah, there's a reason there's appetizers and dessert on the menu. You know, you don't just want a main course all the time.
Exactly. Little tapas.
So one of my favorite quotes was, "Hate and love are close. You can't truly hate something you don't care about." I wanted to ask more of a little bit outside the box question. Where does that personally apply to you in your life? Do you have any pet peeves or areas that find that? For me, just to give you an example, Best Buy has wronged me so many times. I used to love that store. So I have this huge hate for it. I tell everyone, I scream from the rooftops. But is there anything in your life that's like that you could pull from?
So I think that was pulled from just relationships. If someone hurts you and you break up with someone that you didn't really like, you're kind of over, you didn't really love, it's like meh. But if you love them, that'll pull out hate, right? So you can't feel that strongly about anything unless there's this underlying care.
I'm going to use that when my wife gets mad at me. I'm just going to be, the only reason why you can be this mad at me is because you love me so much. It's equal. The amount of anger you're feeling right now is equal to the amount of love that you have. That'll turn her around right away.
Otherwise, she wouldn't care. It's when they stop getting angry and annoyed at you that you got to worry.
Yeah, exactly. And you had the opportunity to listen to a sample of some audiobook narrators, correct?
Yeah, so the audiobook is just released from Dreamscape out with early listeners.
That's right, amazing. Now. Yeah, so that must have been a surreal experience as well to like hear voice actors reading your words.
Yes, and the cast is so lovely. So I was so excited to connect with them on social media and chat with them. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm meeting Cass, but I'm Cass, but you're Cass. Yeah, they did a fantastic job, and they're lovely people and so good at what they do. So that was a lot of fun.
Do you have a preference about how your work is consumed, whether people read the book or listen to the audiobook?
No, because the weird thing about writing is once I finish writing, it's no longer mine, right? It's the reader's. And they're going to interpret the characters. They're going to interpret the story in whatever way they're going to interpret it. And that's theirs to do with it, whatever they're going to do with it, right? So yeah, it's not mine anymore. It's the reader's.
So we often like to do a segment of the podcast usually for books that are yet to be released as movies. And fingers crossed, you've had so many crazy experiences so far, and the book's not even out yet, that one day someone will buy the rights and turn this thing into a movie. Are there any actors or actresses you kind of pictured either while you were writing it or afterwards that you would want to cast? If we're saying unlimited budget here, you know, this is a Steven Spielberg production.
I mean, of course, if it's going to get purchased, it would be.
Yeah, exactly.
Budget. Yeah, I had Charlize Theron in mind.
Oh, we love that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then who was Julie? It was Jennifer. Oh my gosh. I am like really terrible with names. I can barely remember my kids' names. In Snowpiercer, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah.
Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah, Jennifer Connelly.
Yes. Yeah, so that's who I pictured as Julie.
She's phenomenal. Top Gun Maverick.
And then Nicole Kidman in one of the roles where she has like big, crazy, curly red hair. That was Victoria. Yeah, those are the ones that I remember. But yeah, I had like a little mood board for my characters, and those were some of the ones that were on there.
Well, for one, I just want to say that your acknowledgement section was wonderful. I read a lot of acknowledgement sections in book, and yours actually felt very personal and like appreciated from all around. So I'm sure the people mentioned in there must have loved that and got a kick out of it.
And it was funny, which I liked too.
Normally people skip through that stuff, and I was like, don't skip through it on this one. But I do love
someone else read it other than my dad. That's awesome.
I do love an obscure pet. I'm all in on them outside of snakes. I'm a no-go with snakes. Oh. But how does one decide to add a hedgehog to the family?
The hedgehog's dead.
Oh my God.
So
Dylan.
No, I get asked about it a lot, and I need to take it out of my bio, but it just feels so final.
Yeah.
Get out of the bio. But that was my youngest daughter got obsessed with hedgehogs, and begged and begged and begged for it. There was actually right before it died. This I did not kill it, by the way. Going into
cast it, we know.
Right before it died, they were at my in-laws for the summer, and the hedgehog got lost. So it was this big thing on social media. Everyone's following along. I'm searching the house. I'm searching everywhere. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've lost the hedgehog. I found it like the day before she came back, but then it
perfect.
died. But then it died a couple months later.
Oh, well, at least you found it, and it wasn't like we lost Sonic.
Getting a hedgehog is not easy. So this hedgehog got flown in. I had to go to the Tampa International Airport to pick it up. It was a whole thing. And I'm like, I can't just replace a hedgehog and pretend like it's the same hedgehog, because it's a whole production to get these.
So is there going to be another hedgehog in the future? Are you saying that's it? We'll stick to the pets.
They're really expensive and they don't last very long. So I think we're done with hedgehogs. I did have a snake in college called Mr. Kitty. He was awesome. Ball python.
Oh my God.
I don't know what weird pet's going to be next, but right now I have a Rottweiler and mutt.
Keith, do you want to ask some book related questions? You have the spoiler warning stuff.
Yeah, a little spoiler warning first here. In terms of just your favorite character or characters in the book, for me, I was kind of Team Alice, and does that make me weird? I don't know if that makes me a little crazy or psychotic, but I actually liked her. I liked her character. I think she was resourceful, persistent, patient, loyal. The ending wasn't great look for her, but if we take all that out, she all had all those characteristics, you know? Am I crazy, or is that did you kind of write that in that way?
She was. I loved writing her. She's a lot of fun. She's quirky and different and weird and
definitely weird,
a little unhinged.
Unhinged for sure.
You're just describing me, I think. Maybe that's why.
I love a good unlikable character.
Yeah, well, I think one of the great things about this book is that all of the characters are somewhat unlikable in their own way, but you find yourself rooting for them at different points. Maybe not Ethan so much,
Ethan
but
not so much.
Like everyone else, even when they're having their bad moments, they come back and have something redeemable or something along those lines. Granted, I'm not sure Ethan and Cass were good parents, but outside of that.
Yeah, they maybe were a little selfish and wrapped up in their drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for some readers love unlikable characters, and they like to dig deep and find those redeemable characteristics. And some people, it's not their cuppa. But I love an unlikable character that I love to hate. She kind of got the short end of the stick, so you can understand why she's a little angry.
Oh, yeah, I'd be pissed. I don't want to be sleeping in a dog cage. No, thank you.
Right? Yeah. It's unfair. Well, Cass is baking cookies.
Yeah. And it wasn't clear how Alice died there at the end. So are we setting up for a sequel, or are you moving on to other projects?
I mean, I never say never. But right now, I have My Darlings releases in 2024, so that's already done. My 2025 book, I just turned in, so that's done. And I have a work in progress file with 17 started books. So I don't know, right? I don't know. We'll see.
Good for you. I have 17 pages of books to read, but that's about it for me. And so how does it work when you're also doing books under a different name?
Yeah, so I write under Kristen Seeley, and her first book comes out in September. But essentially Marie still is thrillers, strictly thrillers, and then Kristen Seeley, I play in more of the book club, women's fiction, but there's darker themes. It's still exploring human emotions. So there's some crossover, but it's definitely not the thriller suspense genre.
Awesome. So you got 2 books coming out this year.
Yes.
Amazing.
I love a challenge.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, Marie, thanks for chatting with us. We really appreciate it. And to listeners out there, if you're in St. Pete or looking to take a trip to soak up the sun, stop by Tombolo Books on the 14th of March this month, which will be the day this comes out. So if you're there, get on a plane. There's a launch party, correct?
Yes.
Sweet. That should be a lot of fun for you. And if you love this book like we did, you can check out Beverly Bonifinch's Dead, which is going to be different under a different name, but, same great author. And that's going to be available in September. Well, thanks again for stopping by. It was great having you, and all the best of luck to you with this book and all future endeavors.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Stock up, stock down. Stock up. What do you got? We're all lying.
Stock up. Kovo, I have to just call it out right away. We had a nice discussion about it, but I mean, this is our drink. We've talked about it on multiple episodes.
Yeah, it's actually in the zeitgeist. We've put it out there in the world.
Yeah, we've made it happen.
People like The Secret or whatever, the idea of you put these ideas into the world and you speak them and then all of a sudden they manifest. Mm-hmm. I think you did that with Kovo. I think you did that.
I have my, what's that board you put all your pictures on and like your dream board or whatever? Yeah, I had that on there. They also describe it in the perfect way. She takes a sip. She's like, oh, that's not very good. And then she's like, ... But it's not also that bad, which is exactly how you get someone into Kovo. Mm-hmm. They take a sip. They're like, oh. And they're like, wait a minute, that's actually not bad. All right. That was the perfect way to describe it. Just needed to rebrand the name, and we're in business now.
Exactly. We talked to Marie about this, but she's dropping Tito's out there left and right. You can do a little Kovo TM. Maybe when the hardcover comes out, just ask the editor to change a couple things. You scratch our back, we'll scratch yours kind of thing.
Yeah, we don't hate that.
Kovo TM in a liquor store near you soon. And question for you, I've asked you this before, but is Kovo always served hot, or is there an iced version?
I wrote a blog on this on the Buddy Book Club on how to do that. I don't remember how I wrote, because 90% of the blogs I write, I black out. I write them and then I forgot I wrote them. So you'll have to check out the blog.
Okay, I'll do that.
I prefer it hot myself. Some like it hot, as I would say. But I've had it both ways. When I do drink it cold, I usually do like some sort of sweetener in it. That's the one caveat I would say. Whereas hot, I think you can just go straight up. You don't taste it.
Yeah, hot, I feel like you wouldn't even necessarily taste the vodka.
No. It's basically tastes like a bitter coffee. Yeah. It doesn't really taste like vodka, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in line with that, my first stock up was day drinking. And Cass is doing a lot of day drinking in this book, rightfully so. She's under a lot of stress, and what better time to day drink than when you're stressed or not stressed. But according to Cass, day drinking is fun while you're doing it, but not so much once the day ends. And I'm going to disagree wholeheartedly with that one, because I feel like that's half the point of day drinking. When you're normal night drinking, I'm talking like for a party, not just Tuesday night, but you kind of drink until you're done, and then you go home and fall asleep, and then you feel terrible the next day. Whereas when you're day drinking, you do the same thing, but everything's a little earlier. So one, I feel like you have more of an opportunity to get a lot of water down before you go to bed, which is the number one cure for all hangovers, is to just drink a lot of water before you go to bed. And the number two hangover cure is to sleep longer. So if you're able to fall asleep earlier because you're day drinking, even if you wake up at the same time you normally do, you got more sleep. So day drinking, it's almost like you can't get a hangover unless you just go balls to the wall, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, the key is you really got to keep drinking right up until about 8 o'clock. Then you start pounding water, take a long, long piss at 9:30 and pass out. Not that I've done this multiple times, but then you sleep through any sort of hangover you had, and you get that extra sleep, like you said. That's the key. Yeah, I agree. That's a good stock up, and so one I'd definitely buy. Good. Especially when it's a nice sunny day out. It's a different drunk. You just feel much better, lighter. Everything feels brighter. It's amazing.
I feel like when you're drinking at night, it's almost like you need to sprint to get a buzz on, and in order to be one with the crowd. Some of us might have a little social anxiety, and we use that to drink. I understand.
Right, of course.
So, but then you overshoot it because it's a delayed effect with the liquor hitting your system. So then you go too far, and where day drinking, you can start on your own time. You'd have to start with the crew because you're going to be day drinking anyway. So it's noon. Crack a can. Do whatever you need to do, and then you're able to kind of pace it out. Plus, there's more food involved. Sometimes when you drink at night, you just kind of forget about food. But during the day, you're not going to forget about food. So, it's a better experience. It's just a better experience. So, tip my cap to you. What else you got for stock up?
Blocking numbers, stock up. We've talked about this before. I'm a big fan of this. Well, I'm more like deleting numbers and sending a message to all my enemies out there. Okay. Anyone that slighted me, I don't hold a grudge. Anyways, I wrote this stock up before we found out Cass, spoilers, was the one sending her own text messages. And Cass kind of loves attention a little bit, and she wants the drama a little bit. I mean, obviously what happened to her was horrible, but at the same time, I get the first a couple of days I'm right there with Cass, but then it's like, hey, now you can take things into your own hands. Maybe just block the number. Maybe just block that email. I know it's coming from her, but you can just avoid a lot of that stuff that's going to affect you. It'd be like someone that gets a toothache. The first couple of days, you're like, yeah, that sucks. After a week, you're like, go to the dentist. That's, just shut the fuck up. Just go to the dentist. That's what she kept on doing, the same shit. And it's like, you can now fix this. You can't be complaining anymore. It's over.
Yeah, doing the same shit and expecting different results is probably not a winning recipe there.
It's definition of being in the Buddy Book Club or insanity. What?
Yeah. Additionally, I mean, I didn't even have this stock up, but what do they call it when you get people so they can't get close to you? It's like a court thing. They mentioned it in the book, and now a restraining order. Stock up restraining orders. Just get one right away, immediately upon anything happening, because obviously when this whole thing blows up and Emma shows up at the event, it's like, yeah, that's terrible. But at least now she's definitely going to jail because you have a restraining order against her and she violated it. But now the only thing she violated was your husband. So you're kind of stuck. So yeah, restraining orders. Try to get one. Additionally, another stock up I had was going out to eat. So people love to go out to eat. Why not? They do it for all sorts of things. Birthdays, anniversaries, holidays. Not usually when your parents have decided to cease their relationship, or at least it's on the rails because your dad has been a habitual line stepper and is cheating on your mom. But Cass seems like she's going to take the kids out to eat and they're going to have a great night. And coming from a broken home myself, I just couldn't quite imagine the idea that I would have a great night when my wonderful life is all of a sudden shattering down around me as a 10-year-old kid. Where's my mom going to take me that's going to make me forget that my dad is cheating on my mom and my life's about to end?
Well, Chuck E. Cheese.
I was going to say the Ground Round. I don't know if you're familiar with that establishment, but
I do remember that. Is that a train station?
I think they did have a train theme. But it's like, what are they going to go to Bennigan's with all the tchotchkes and stuff? Get a double...
You're just naming all the places that would work. You're like, no, yeah, that's what we would do.
Yeah, I don't even know. Pizza Planet from Toy Story?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure it out. Where would you go that you think you were in the worst possible way and someone suggested this restaurant? You'd be like, that might make me feel a little better.
As a 10-year-old, I think any sort of arcade or anything. Also... I'm all for just burying any emotions or feelings deep down, and we don't talk about those things.
Yeah, you're an Irish Catholic.
So I don't think it's... Yeah. So I think I was on brand with that. I was like, yeah, obviously they take them out, get their mind off it, because we're not going to talk about it, and that's it. That's the end of the discussion, right?
Okay, yeah, sure.
All right. Yeah. Is this a therapy session we're doing here with all of us?
My last one was gaslighting, and gaslighting is super, super hip right now people are talking about it all the time. And I'm going to get...
One second here. Didn't you say that you hated gaslighting? I told you I wrote a blog on how it's a fake word and doesn't mean anything. It just means lying.
Yeah, well, no, it doesn't mean lying. It's manipulating people into making them question their own sanity.
Sorry, there's a real thing that people do that on purpose. And then there's what people use gaslighting as, I should say. I saw some post and it was like, is Disney gaslighting me right now? And it was just something that was a slight observation that was off or something. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
What does this even mean?
100%. I think it's gone too far, the gaslighting thing. But it is an actual thing. And if you want to know what it is, then read this book. Because everyone is gaslighting Cass in this. It's pretty insane, actually. Her husband, all this crazy shit's happening, and her husband's like, Cass, you're going crazy. Like, what are you talking about? But it's actually happening. And obviously she sent her own text messages. I'm saying outside of that. But she meticulously organizes her vanity in her bathroom. And she's like, this is not how I did it. And then there's a friggin' smiley face drawn onto my mirror. And her husband is actually telling her, you did it. You must have done it. She's like, I didn't do it. Like, what are you talking about? I did it. And even the cop, when the cop comes by, he's saying things. I can't remember the exact things he said. But he was basically saying, like, no, you're crazy.
Well, it's tough when she also is sending text messages and emails to herself.
It's tough when she is crazy, but crazy in a different way. So, and they don't know that at that point. No one knows that.
Right, that's true. Okay, you're right.
It was just fascinating to me that it worked. So, like, she believed it. At the end, she was like, did I kill Emma? Did I do this stuff? Because she was like, I don't know. Everyone had been gaslighting her so heavy, So, yeah, maybe stock up. Maybe gaslighting's back, especially when it's used appropriately. Maybe it's back.
Fair enough.
What do you ever stock down?
Friendly greetings, stock down.
Oh, you hate a good friendly greeting.
Well, the first thing I had a problem with was that Cass lets Alice call her Miss Mitchell in a workplace. She's worked there for 10 years. She's not a second grade student. Everyone else calls her Cass. It's fine. You force your assistant to be like, no, call me by my first name. I don't want to be called.
Oh, because Alice calls her Miss Mitchell.
Yes. I know she's doing it as like a reverence thing. And like, this is how much you mean to me. But like, as a boss, you can't let that happen. It just makes it look demeaning also to Alice. Secondly is Cass is out to lunch with Laura. She's having a nice lunch. She's like talking with Laura about cheating because she's obsessed. Obviously,
Lara?
She can't get enough of it. Yeah, Lara.
Yeah,
How do you say that name? Lara.
You're not good with names. It's fine. It's just part of your personality. Yeah. It's cute and quirky. All right.
Yeah. Anyways, her assistant of 10 years, Alice, walks by and bumps into her and says, "Hey, I thought I saw you over there." What's the first thing that Cass says to her? Not like, "Oh, Alice, good to see you. What brings you up here?" She goes right away with, "Why are you here? You live in Tampa."
Yeah.
That's the only thing she says to her. And she's like, "Oh, there's like a farmer's market down the road." And then doesn't say anything else. Doesn't introduce her friend Lara to her. And then she's like, "Well, have a good one. I'll see you later." And then Laura proceeds to say, like, "That person's weird." It's like, what?
Yeah.
That was so mean.
Yeah.
That was the meanest thing ever. Like, that's why I was saying, like, I was Team Alice, because, like, she's getting treated like absolute shit by her boss who doesn't care about her. And then the end's like, "Oh, you're family." It's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you've been so mean to her this whole time.
Well, I was going to get into this in my love-hate section. Really in the hate. For Cass, I'm over Cass. She was terrible to Alice in several situations. She doesn't seem to understand simple things. Like at one point, her and Ethan go out to dinner and she's like, "I'm unable to think of a good excuse to get out of dinner with Ethan." It's like, girl, I can think of at least one, which is where he cheated on you like 2 days ago. So just don't do it. And I'm not trying to blame the victim here, but there's so many other aspects of her personality, specifically this Alice thing and her being a terrible mother and not paying attention to her children, that I was like, you know what? I'm out. I don't sympathize with you. I'm sorry that, this happened to you. It's terrible, for sure. No one should have to go through that. But, all of it, the whole work stuff too. But at the same time, I don't really feel bad for you. And I have to apologize to the author, Marie Still here, because she said that, Cass was kind of her and the way she wrote her, obviously an extreme version. And she said, that she was going into these kind of like what if situations and, what would you do kind of thing, but to the max. So I don't actually think that the author is Cass. But she also said that after she writes it, that it's in the reader's hands and they can interpret it as they want. So, hey, that's how I'm interpreting it. I'm out. I'm out on Cass. I'm out. I don't feel bad for her.
No, I'm right there with you.
My stock down is evidence. Pretty much just don't leave it. It's as simple as that. Why is Ethan taking dick pics or whatever with his side piece? For one, just don't take pictures. It's as simple as that. It really should be a no-brainer, if you will. And also, if you're deciding you want to do that, I watch The Wire. They have burner phones. I'm sure they have burner phones with cameras on them. Just a burner phone. You know, you have a shoebox full of like disgusting things. Like, what are they called? Like totems of your other girlfriends. Probably like, I don't know, bras with titty residue.
That was weird. I thought he was like killing them. I was like, no one does that. Serial killers,
yeah,
right?
It's like a serial killer thing.
Yeah.
So, but if you have that box, then you might as well have a couple phones in there that you can use when you need to, and keep all your pictures and yeasted panties in there, whatever you want. But also, Ethan telling his side piece about his other side pieces, it's like, buddy, quit shooting yourself in the foot. If you want to be a serial philanderer, it's really not rocket science on how to maintain that if that's what you're into. It's deplorable behavior. We don't condone it here on the Buddy Book Club, but simply don't talk to other people about it, because then you're going to get blackmailed as she did. You know, you're going to get straight up blackmailed. Mm-hmm. And then also, why did Cass leave the evidence on her phone of the anonymous text app? Those things are supposed to be anonymous. So after you're done and you realize, oh, my cat's out of the bag, you just delete the app. It's simple. I've done it. You hold down the home screen, and then when they start to shake, there's a little minus sign. You click on it. I've done it before.
Maybe she didn't have an Apple phone. Maybe that's the issue.
Oh, well, then I don't like her even more. She's a or a green blob person, whatever it is, blue blob person. No. I'm out even more.
Well, to keep in the same theme of shitting all over Cass, stock down trees and the environment overall.
Oh, what?
I knew Cass was sending those emails to herself. Why?
Yeah,
because she's a psychopath. When she first gets cheated on, her reactions were normal, like I mentioned. She seemed just like a normal person that was extremely upset, as she should be. But then red flags started to pop up. She decides, when she gets all these texts and emails, to cut down 15 trees and then print out 642 pages of hate mail. 642 pages. I was like, wait, why did you need to print that out?
I was just wondering why she didn't double-side it.
Or that. Or just put it in a PDF. She's good with technology. She knows how to do the secret app thing. I mean, all you gotta do is 20 pages. 642? Like, this seems a little overkill.
Can you, collate that stuff or whatever they call it so it's all on one page? What size font is she using for these text messages?
Yeah, right? And then they're like, the $3 million is missing. I'm like, yeah, do you know how much printer inkjets cost? They're super expensive. Like, she's been literally burning through that ink all day. I'm not surprised. And they make the inkjets too, that like, even if it's just all black, if you have colors in it, you have to replace all of them. You know what I mean? So it's a scam. It's a big scam. Stock up printer inkjets for this one, because she paid a lot of money for those. But trees and environment, stock down.
Okay, I can dig it. Stock down for me, giving people your keypad code. I'm just assuming, because Alice took her liberties with lots of stuff, and she was quite the astute individual. I mean, she knew everyone's passcode at the office for their cell phones, which was pretty amazing. But I can only assume that at one point Cass gave her keypad entry and said, hey, come on in, no problem. People seem to do this rather freely. I mean, even my parents who have a rental property, they have a keypad entry, and it's been the same for 5 years. And there's been how many people in that rental property, they've never changed the code. Like, at any time.
Let's keep down the DL. Yeah, we don't want that out there.
It's 87 silver
69,
brown
69.
One of the two numbers is 69, though. How did you friggin' know that?
Yeah. Nice. 420, 69.
But yeah, it never ends well if you give someone your keypad entry. It didn't end well for the Elkin family, which is my childhood friend's family, whose pantry I raided all their fruit snacks, which we talked about in a previous episode, because I knew what their password was. So he'd be like, yeah, we're going to be home in a little bit. Just go on in. And I just end up going in and eating all of their fruit snacks. So as a child, not as an adult. But I would do it as an adult. I would.
Yesterday, this happened.
I would. So, yeah, just keep that shit to yourself. It's simple. It's a 4-digit code. You wouldn't tell someone your phone keypad, probably.
Yeah, how about also Emma leaving her phone behind? I thought she was Gen Z. Keep that phone in your hip pocket. Come on, what are you doing?
Wait, when was that?
She left her phone behind. That's the reason why Alice was able to find out that.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I leave my phone all sorts of places. Sometimes even on
but we're not Gen
on the
Z.
roof of my car when I drive to Costco. But
oh, yikes.
It was still there. Great case. I don't know what this case is, but this is a great case.
Were you listening like the Bluetooth was in? You're listening to music. You're like, where's that? What do I change this? It's just on top.
That's exactly what happened. I was like, why does it like keep going in and out? And then I was like, wait, where's my phone? I'll change it into something. And I was like, holy shit, it's not here. And I got out of the car. It was on the roof. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know. This case, it's not even anything special, but yeah. Good for it.
Yeah, it goes against physics, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. So amazing. Yeah. So keypad codes, don't give them away. Stock down. What else you got?
That's it.
Don't tell me that's it. Come on. Okay, I got lots more. Sit back, enjoy yourself. Work flings, or specifically ones that go too far, those are just never gonna be good for you. I've been working in corporate America.
What about us? What about us, sir?
Our work fling? Well, it was platonic. It's a platonic work fling. That's different.
That more to me. Go on.
I'm glad I never gave you my keypad code. I've never seen one that has been a serious one that hasn't ended extremely poorly. And they either end extremely uncomfortably, which is unfortunate for both people, and one person ends up like quitting within the next 6 months because it's just like so cringy, or they end up going to human resources and someone's saying we did some weird things on the community text chains or whatever they call it, like Slack or something like that. But Emma, for some reason, is surprised that she got fired because of her dalliance. It didn't make a lot of sense. She's like, I can't believe I got fired. I lost my job because of this, Ethan. It's like, what? You were banging the owner's husband in a small company. I mean, it doesn't matter how big or how small. If I was a paper boy at Fox Sports and I banged Rupert Murdoch's wife, I'm pretty sure I would get fired. It doesn't matter. So she was obviously unhinged for sure. But at the same time, for people out there, if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to get in this serious relationship at work, just slow down. You also don't really want to work and live with your significant other.
Just to clear this up, you're currently working from home with you kept on saying wife, by the way. You get secretly married?
Well, no, I call her my wife all the time, also because, yes, we're together forever. We're bonded forever. But we play a lot of pickleball with a lot of old people down here, and old people are really nosy and they want to know your business. So it's just easy just to say my wife, and it covers all the bases. One, I love her with all my heart. We'll be together forever.
I'm keeping this in.
Two,
I like this a lot.
You gotta just keep it simple for people. But in this book, they do talk about the lies and how they compound themselves, just one after another. And it's always worked for me, the wife thing, because it's easy enough. People just say, yep, they accept it. But now that I'm starting to get to know these old people more at pickleball, they're starting to ask deeper questions. How long have you been married? Stuff along those lines. So now I had to start this lie, which is, which I'm like, oh, we've been married just a year. The wife and I didn't get together and discuss this lie. So now she's telling people on the other side that we're not married, and they asked how long we've been married. And she was like, well, we're not actually married. She kind of explained it to them, but I didn't do that. So now our lies are getting crossed. And now we're basically in this We're All Lying book together.
I can get you out of this, kid. Just say you don't believe in the government controlling your marriage status. And so you are spiritually married, but not by the government, which is okay with you. And that's why you say it that way. Then no one will ever question you.
Honestly, that's not only what I say. That's actually what I believe. Why does the government have to decide? Fuck them.
Yeah.
My other stock down is Giving a Mouse a Cookie.
Oh, I love that book.
Yeah, exactly. Stock's really high, but the message is very clear. And unfortunately, Ethan didn't seem to get the message because he somehow thinks that putting $10K into Emma's account is going to silence her about all the stuff she knows. But she's unhinged. What do you think? She's not going to come back for $10,000 more for you to pay her rent at another place? You got to cut the cord and just live it. Cass already thinks she's crazy. So it's not like she has evidence of all these other women, from what I understand. Maybe she does. But if she's like, oh, he has all these other flings, he could be like, no, I don't, whatever. Or just admit it, and you're already in so much trouble, and she already Cass is already so mad at you, that you might as well just put everything out there, because she can only get so mad.
Right.
You know? Right.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Exactly. Rip the Band-Aid off. There you go. So give a mouse a cookie, rip the Band-Aid off. Rip the Band-Aid off, stock up. Give a mouse a cookie, stock down. And lastly, stock down is being a good worker. So Alice somehow earns a, quote, meager salary. Hasn't she been at the company since inception, like 10 years?
Okay, that's what I've been saying.
I know.
Loyalty, 10 years, is still calling him Mrs. Mitchell.
Yeah, and she's indispensable. Like, Cass is always like, what would I do without you? This, that, and the other thing. It's, how did you get all this done? And honestly, when they're showing what Alice is doing, you know, she set up this whole event. Like, she's very important to this company. She's obviously, like, a bit toxic in the workplace, but outside of that, in terms of, like, getting shit done, she's very good at her job.
If someone that was an assistant that was that good as Alice, she wants to come over, get in my closet, put my clothes on, that's fine. Hey, dude, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
You know, get that stuff done. I don't care. As long as you're getting your work done.
Yeah, like, just let me know. Just say, like, hey, I'm going to swing by if you're not there. Just try your clothes on. Like, yeah, sure. I wear the same 8 t-shirts, so, like, it's really not anything special. Maybe just don't overperform, because once you do, everyone just expects that out of you. And they'll just, oh, that's Alice. You know, she just kicks butt. But they don't think, oh, let's make you a VP or let's make you a partner in this because you're so good. You're just my assistant. Like, no.
Yeah, and don't you dare come up and talk to me in the same area when I'm eating lunch. Don't you even look at me.
How dare you cross the bridge from Tampa to St. Pete and come and see me at lunch? Are you kidding me? Am I paying you for this? What do you got for favorite scene? Not really like a scene book.
So I told you the whole time I thought, or I started to think that Cass was in on it and she was kind of doing a lot of the stuff. Because Emma even hinted at it. She's like, I'm not sending you anything. And that's why I was like, okay.
Yeah. No, I knew. Yeah, I knew as well.
But when she actually showed up at the conference, I was like, oh, this chick's crazy. Like, Emma's a psychopath. And at that point, I'm like, oh, she's dead. Someone's going to kill her. I don't know who it is. I knew she was dead at that moment because you can't do that. Also, as a client, would you really leave if that happened? I would. I think it'd be like funny gossip, but as long as the product's good, cool. I don't care. It's not really going to impact me. The only thing I'd be worried about is the money. Like the money missing would be much more. That'd be way bigger to me than what Emma did.
Yeah, and who your agency is. I mean, I forget what the brand was. I mean, I know it started with the
Brexin or something.
Yeah, but do we know what what product?
No, I'm
they
not
sold?
sure what they did.
Yeah, so unless it's like Brexin is the new like eHarmony or something along those lines, or maybe that's even better. But if it's just a company, who cares what your agency is getting in trouble for? But if they're making headlines, it'd be like at the Brexin event, you know, at the Brexin this, you know,
anything. Yeah.
Hey, what do they say? All pub is good pub, or no press is bad press, whatever. I don't even know, something like that.
Yeah, and they're just like rebranding too, so it's not like that would impact the creative they came up. You know what I mean? Like it has nothing to do with that. Like it still will be good creative.
Yeah, it was just an unfortunate situation, but I'm sure there are lots of people that would drop somebody from that. But you saying you liked the event scene?
I mean, that's when it was like, oh shit! Yeah. Like it all kind of started coming to crashing down there.
Yeah. And honestly, I knew in my own mind that it wasn't Emma, but I thought it was Alice. So I thought Alice was
dressed as her?
No, I thought Alice was sending all those, not at the event. I thought Alice was sending all the texts.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah,
and I thought Alice might have like slept with her husband or something like that. Just like wearing one of her wigs or something like that. I don't know, something super creepy. Something super hot. But turned out that wasn't the case. And, you know, we got a little twisty twist in there.
What was your favorite scene?
I liked a lot of it. So I can't think about, like, necessarily a scene. I did like the end when she's locked in the house. As to, like, okay, what the fuck's going to happen here? Because Alice seems, like, totally unhinged. And I always like when... Then maybe also... the beginning stuff when she's like talking to Ethan about the cheating, when it was like just came out. It was like that conversation is like so uncomfortable, I can only imagine. And it was fun. That dialogue back and forth I thought was fun to read. You know, I was like, oh, I'm glad this ain't me because this sucks. This is terrible for both parties involved, but Ethan's a piece of shit, so. I mean, do we have to pick our character? Come on, it's Alice. She's
Alice.
She's got minimalist decor in her house. Every piece of furniture has a functional purpose. She's got few knickknacks. She's a hard worker,
loyal.
Yeah, she's all the things you said on the interview with Marie. You know, unfortunately, Alice just had a tough situation growing up. I mean, she was locked in a fucking dog cage, and one of her siblings was burnt all over with cigarette burns, like turned into the zebra from Zebra Striped Gum, except it's cigarette burns. Like, that's not a good way to grow up. Like, anyone's gonna get fucked up from that. I mean, there's that story of that girl who's put in the dog cage and barked at until she was 12, and she never learned how to speak. So I'm just proud of.
She got picked on throughout her whole life, and then she gets an agency, like devotes her life to it, and then still gets picked on by everyone there.
Yeah. And no one defends her. Like, even Cass isn't defending her. I mean, Julie sees
until she, at the end, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're so great now that you're doing literally all the work, and you're the only person that like I can trust." It's like, yeah, she's done this for 10 years though.
Yeah, well, I feel like she says that to her all the time. She'd be like, "Oh my God, you're so great! Like, thank you. Can I get avocado on my salad today?" Yeah. We're all lying. Marie Still. What'd you love?
This is one of the first physical books I've read in a while, which is obviously pretty pathetic, but I usually do audiobooks. I really liked actually getting back into reading a book. It brought me back to my lifeguard days when I was in high school and early college.
Oh, those are the best reading days. I didn't lifeguard, but I had friends that did, and they read so many books.
And there was a lot of these type books that were lying around that were very similar to this, that looked long, like they were like thick books, and then you open them up, they're quick reads, they're quick chapters, bigger font. Just made me feel like I was getting something done. I would look down at the pages. I would be reading much quicker than any other book I could possibly read. Probably back to good old days, you know?
Yeah, whoever designed the book itself, I also loved it. We're talking nice thick pages, bigger print. You know, it's a larger book itself, but that's just to fit the larger print in there. So it's actually a page turner in the storyline, but it's literally a page turner in the fact that you're reading so much. You just feel like you're accomplishing things because you're turning pages. And the last 100 pages for me, granted, I read them pretty quickly because we had the interview. The last 100 pages went like super fast. And it was one of those things. I'm an old man now. I go to sleep at a very specific time, and I was in bed reading with the little book light, you know what I mean? And my mom got me a book light. I was reading for Christmas. I was reading with that thing. The wife's fast asleep, and I look at the clock. I was like, holy shit, what time is it? I just blacked out and read the rest of this book. Felt good to be a tangible book reader.
The thing about this book too, and I was kind of alluding to the lifeguard stuff, is those books too that I read back in the day were very like deceitful and lies. This one's a little bit darker than those usually, but it still had that same kind of themes going on, which I appreciated. This one seemed more realistic. Like a lot of times, like those kind of books, like someone cheated on them and they're like, "Oh, that sucks," and then they're like, "Now I got to get back at them" or something. It's just like, oh, they literally got over it in a half a day.
It's also more human in that there's no like black and white. Like someone's just bad and someone's just good. Except for Ethan, fuck him. He's definitely just bad.
I'm saving him for my hates, but yeah, go on.
Yeah. Outside of that, everyone else operates in this gray area where they're both bad and good, and that's, you know, that's real life. That's how life works. So I appreciated that as well. So I'll get into my first date. Ethan. No, I'm just kidding. You go.
The thing is, we get inside the head of Cass and Ethan and Alice. Both Cass and Alice, we kind of start to understand a little bit with their childhood, with everything that goes on, why they are who they are. Whereas Ethan, he saved, obviously, Cass from being raped in college, which was, you're like, oh, this guy's a good guy. He must just made one big mistake.
Well, then he immediately went in to get it, so...
What's that? Oh, but to date.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
That's well, yeah. But you seem like he's like seems like a good guy, and you're like, he must have just made a mistake, or maybe someone's blackmailing him. But then you just find out that he's just a shitbag. There's no motivations for why he's a terrible person. He's just like, no, I refuse to change, and I'm a shitty person. There's nothing in his past or anything that really makes him who he is, other than he's just a shitty person, right? Like, was there any reason why we should empathize with him in any way?
No, I don't think so. At no point. And it's like, cool, you lost your job. Like, yeah, you're super stressed. I don't understand in general the idea of these men that feel...
That was a hard M there. Really hard M.
That feel small because their wives are more successful or like make more money than them. Buddy, that should be your dream. Like, what are you concerned about? Your wife's super successful. She's committed to her job. She's a good mom. Good for her. What do you feel like, oh, you need to keep up with her? Drive around in your Porsche. Like, get over yourself. My last hate was pee talkers. So Lara, when they go out to eat, Lara's a big pee talker. Yeah. I could see you being very uncomfortable with, usually for men, I'll do a hard M. For men, it's encouraged to talk at the urinal, which honestly, I don't mind too much. If, there's a game on or something.
Is it encouraged?
I think so, because you're kind of looking at each other. It's either that or you like.
I don't know what urinals you're at. What are you talking about?
We're not like looking at each other, but your heads are in the same space.
You're just making eye contact with the guy next to you. Like, hey, what's up, buddy?
Yeah.
This is encouraging, isn't it? Like, what?
No, my go-to is anytime I walk into a restroom and I step up to a urinal and there's someone else there, I say, "Oh, so this is where all the dicks hang out." That's what I say.
Stay in. Nicely done.
Yeah. So for men, I feel like people are more accustomed to talking, but maybe, I don't know, maybe that's just me.
No, I step up to the urinal, I stare at the wall and contemplate all the mistakes I've made in my life for that 30 seconds I need to piss. That's not what you do?
30 seconds is a long time. I wanted you to time your pees.
I also have to exhale like 4 or 5 times, like,
yeah,
a couple of those, and then you piss, and then you think about your life and everything you've done wrong.
But I feel like there are a lot of poo talkers out there, and it's just not for me in general.
Hard pass.
Or if there are pee talkers, I don't mind, but let's not dally in the bathroom itself. Let's take this outside. This place smells terrible. Like someone's about to use that hand blower, which is just like sucking germs through it and spitting them out into your face. Like, I'm good. Let's go back to the bar and we'll have a conversation, or the restaurant, wherever we're at. But I don't need to be chatting about how your second quarter went at work in a bathroom. It's just, one, I'm not interested in general, and two, I'm definitely not interested while you're also have your hands on your junk. I'm with Cass here. Pee talkers, not a fan. So Keith, would you recommend We're All Lying, one of BuzzFeed's top thrillers of 2023, which comes out on March 14th, for those of you that are unawares?
Yeah, pick it up. I would kind of describe it as like a dark beach read.
Yeah.
Again, we talked about how we just burned through it. If you're into these type of thrillers, or into kind of psychological thrillers, definitely a good one to have. And it's easy to pick up, put down, get right back into the story. So I recommend it.
Yeah, agreed. It's a multiple perspective thing, which I always enjoy. I'm all for it. I would definitely recommend the book. I enjoyed it. It'd be hard not to enjoy it if you get an advanced copy of a book. I mean, it's like getting a screener of Titanic. Yeah, I love that movie. It's phenomenal. So I really did enjoy it. I mean, we've read on this podcast a few like Reese Witherspoon book club books. Authors have written multiple books that don't hold a fucking candle to this. So, I mean, we're not going to say the name that we will never say. The worst book that's ever been written. But, so if that's the vibe you're looking for, especially this summer for beach read stuff, yeah, for sure. Like, I gave it to the SGF after I finished. I said, hey, check this out.
The wife, you mean?
Oh, the wife, yeah. This will be the podcast where it's just the wife from now on. What do we got coming up next?
Sandlot the movie, and third option, Vince Flynn.
Keith, I know we had some ups and downs here with the audio and whatnot, but hey, I love you. I'll never murder you, okay?
Right back at you.
All right, well, that's it for We're All Lying. We'll catch you next time. Bye now.